Maybe start with the first book. Yeah, okay. This is A Waiter in Paris by Edward Chisholm. It was good. I think as I was reading it, I just would have rather have been reading Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell. Julia Fox is down the drain. And obviously I got it because it seemed like everyone online was talking about it. I think I got it for Christmas last year. Very distinct voice that was very much hers. The way that she writes is how she speaks in interviews, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I like it. If you like Julia Fox, then definitely read it. Bliss Montage by Ling Ma. I read Severance, also by her, I think in lockdown, and it was, or at the start of lockdown, and it was crazy to me that she had written it. Yeah, it won awards in 2018. Anyway, this was short stories, and I remember when I was reading it, I put it down and I didn't pick it up for like a couple weeks on end, and I don't actually remember any of the short stories. I think there was one where there's like 100 wives. Rachel Cusk. I read Second Place first. I know that for a fact, because it was so good. It was really, really good. I really liked it. It was uncomfortable and challenging, and I just really, really liked it. I think the one thing for me was that you were getting like this wonderful, wonderful passage, and then suddenly she would be like, Jeeves, comma, and then keep talking. And Jeeves was obviously this person that she was writing the letters to. Easy 10, but it was so disruptive. You'd like get in the flow, then she'd just be like, hey Jeeves. And I felt that was like so clunky. This one's 200, this one's 300. So 100 pages more, and it said about 100% less to me. I did not like this book. That being said, I think she might have been doing that on purpose. I feel like maybe it's just me. And some people would love it, but it's about this girl. She goes to babysit or something, and then there's like a weird bit at the end. I won't say anything, but oh my god. That was so weird. Oh god. I'll do Hemingway, since we're doing the author thing. I'll do Hemingway. This, Sun Also Rises, aka Fiesta, or is it Siesta? Fiesta, I got it right. This, I would say, is so far this year maybe been my favorite. Would you call this a classic? I mean, it's not contemporary by my standards. I think contemporary is if they're still alive. But maybe some people wouldn't agree with me. Why was it so good? Immediately after, I was like, I must book a trip to Spain. They need me. Yeah, I loved how you could feel that we were moving in sagas, but he didn't have to say. Some books are like the ocean, the mountain. I forget his name, but he does book reviews. And he said, read this book that's about a man with no... Earlier in the year, I went to the bookstore and I said, do you have any Hemingway? And they didn't have. Frustrating, but they did have Men Without Women. And yeah, it's about men without women. I hit Blue Nights by Joan Didion and Play It As It Lays by Joan Didion. Blue Nights was so good. Not at all like I was expecting. I think I got Blue Nights confused with The Year of Magical Thinking. A Year of Magical Thinking? The Year of Magical Thinking. Similar vibe, I guess. I haven't read the other one. And next we have Play It As It Lays. I really, really like this one. Joan Didion. And then from there I will segue to Slow Days, Fast Company by Eve Babitz. There was one really great story in here. I think it might have even been the first story. I really like this book, as you can probably tell, because I just got locked in for a second. There was a really, really great story where she gets a letter from an admirer of her writing. Yeah, this was great. I would read it again. I'm sunburnt. Can you see that? Next book, I'm gonna do White Noise now before I forget. I don't have my copy. I lent it to a friend. But White Noise, Don Delilo. I wouldn't read it again, but there were some parts that were just so crazy and just hit the spot. And it was so rewarding to like have these passages where you're just like, I'm so glad that I'm reading right now. Sometimes I feel judged for reading in public, but it's worth it if the stuff I'm reading is this lit. Now is a good time to do non-fiction, Where Art Belongs, by Kraus. But a couple of my friends who do art or are artists have recommended Kraus's writing before, and I bought it. But this threw me into a reading slump. A general comment about all 3 non-fiction books that I've read this year is I'm sick of reading books that are just magazine articles printed on nice paper with a nice cover. Because I read magazines. If I want to read an article, I'll read it in a magazine. And here we are, and I have 3 books, and all 3 of them, afterwards I was like, oh, I just read magazines on paper. Yeah, sorry, Kraus. Some things you said were cool. Oh yeah, the last story was good. You should have put that at the start. The Last Tiny Creature, that one, that was shit, bro. But then the one about the Bernadette Corporation was great. Yeah, I felt like maybe it was just that first story. I think the first story is what took me out anyway. On Divas by Spencer Kornhaber, where he wrote about supposedly divas, and the sections are part 1, the singers, when they're not even all singers, and then part 2 was the stage. I feel like you just wanted to write a book that was titled On Divas and make it pink so that people like me see it in the non-fiction section at the bookstore and pick it up and buy it. Sometimes I wonder why I, a man with no singular talent nor sequined garments, have written so regularly about divas. Me too. So yeah, next time, just keep them online. I didn't like any of them. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kirk Graves. I read this as part of some research I was doing, and I did not like this book that much. Again, stop printing magazines on paper unless they're really, really good. I could say nothing, and you could get how I feel. So I next read Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Au, and it's great. It was a really good book. Read it in one sitting. But yeah, here, there's this quote on the back I just noticed from legend Helen Garner. She says, "So calm and clear and deep. I wished it would flow on forever." Small book. It's 80 pages, 98 pages. And yeah, about a mother-daughter relationship. No section for that one, by the way, because there's not really a section. I guess contemporary. And then we move on to this. Blue Book. Rave by Rainald Goetz or Rainald Yotes. Second favorite of the year. I don't want to say too much because I went into it pretty blind. Really, really, really recommend it, especially if you like music, or if you like writing, or if you like books generally. It was a interesting but not too challenging book, and obviously looks great in that Yves Klein blue. Oh, look at that, another blue book. So this is the Netanyahus by Joshua Cohen. Yeah, this, again, I don't want to say too much, but you know, the Netanyahus, this came out before the Israel-Palestine conflict kind of hit the complete mainstream. I mean, we've been knowing it's been a problem for a long time. I think it's not what you think. This is a campus novel. This is a novel set on campus, and this was great. It moved with control and diction and purpose, and you completely were hooked in. And I think the exciting thing is how, not what's gonna happen. How is he gonna take us there? And the ending was crazy. This was so great that I went out and I bought myself a copy of the Book of Numbers. It's like the Bible book, and it was good. It was not as complicated and convoluted as the thingies on the back made it seem. New York Times said, reads as if Philip Roth's work were fired into David Foster Wallace's Inside the Hadron Particle Collider. It wasn't that. It was great. I am a bit confused about Josh Cohen. I think he thinks that he's like a wonder kid. I don't necessarily think that's the case because there were so many misses in here. Also another thing, this guy really likes himself. And you have to think, what's he tussling with in his personal life that makes him write about himself, writing about himself? Who's not himself, who's someone else? I've read 2 now of his books. I don't think I will read another. That's the stack of books that I've read this year. Books that I started and either have not finished or chose not to finish this year. The first one is Just Kids by Patti Smith, which I actually threw away or gave away. I don't know where it is, and I don't care. The Poisonwood Bible, and I'm choosing not to finish it at this point in my life. Maybe I will return to it, but right now, or when I was reading it in July, I just... Next is this William Maxwell book, and I am choosing to give up because I read a few short stories in here that were just amazing. And I'm kind of done with short stories now, to an extent. I'm also a hypocrite though. We've got Pretentiousness, Why It Matters by Dan Fox. This is one that I'm waiting to read it until I am on a holiday. I think this is not... I don't want to be working for 8 hours and then come home and have this guy going on and on. There's pictures in this, it's a lot, the words are close together. Next are these 2 which I'm actively reading right now. A Moveable Feast by Hemingway, and so far it's excellent. It's exactly what I liked in Fiesta, or is it Siesta? Fiesta. And then I'm also reading Pond, another Fitzcarraldo by Claire-Louise Bennett. I am not loving it, so that's why I started this, so I can move between the 2. So yeah, that's 5. 2 of which I'm gonna finish, I'm sure of, unless something happens to me. Posted on Tumblr today. Let me show you. It's just my hands, because I realized I have so many photos of my hands. My hands look really scuffed at the moment as well. Can you see? I've got 4 books here, and the first one is this one, Flights by Olga Tokarczuk. I think it's short stories. I like how big the words are. I want to read it. The cover is ugly. Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. I'm going on a holiday and I thought, what better time to lock in and give this one a go. And I can do it. can read Infinite Jest. I never was that worried that I couldn't. And also for personal reasons, I need to read this. And then I just thought it was funny that I had 2 silver books. This one is Derek Jarman, Through the Billboard Promised Land Without Ever Stopping. I think this is his only work of fiction, so I'm inclined to actually read it. The words aren't too small, and there are pictures. I also have another silver book, The Extreme Self by Hans Ulbricht, and I actually don't know the other 2, but I really like Hans Ulrich Ulbricht's column in The Gargosian. And who else is this? Schumann Bazaar and Douglas Coupland. Maybe relative of England Coupland? God. But yeah, they call this a new kind of graphic novel. Which they didn't lie about. Every page. I mean, why would you? It's kind of like a piece of art. Wonder if there's more emojis. I guess this is more like a comic book. Thanks for watching. I wonder if I will play some music. You're gonna hear What You Want by Prophetic Justice Ministry.